So we've talked about that it's not a direct link between religious engagement and the size of families necessarily, though there may be some linkage there. But what are some of the other factors that are playing into whether people are choosing to have children or not? And one topic that I have been discussing with people is the network effect that religious communities tend to have more people in them. If not your direct family, you are part of a larger community tied together by church. And through that, you find childcare and economic support at times and other forms of emotional support. And those who are not tied to a religious community maybe find that in different places, but it tends to be a smaller network. So, could something like that be a factor that is not directly tied to your faith, but indirectly how you live your life? Has a result that then influences what you do with your family planning.
Yeah, so a really strong predictor of like going on to have a second child or a third child or a fourth, whatever, is what's called alloparental support. Allo meaning other, so other parent meaning other people in your life pretending to be parents for your kids. So providing you free childcare, basically. And religious people give way more free childcare than non-religious people, and they also receive way more free childcare. Um, this is something religious communities tend to do for each other because they see themselves as a community. They see children born in that community as someone they have a stake in, and so they invest in those kids. So religious communities have more alloparental investment in non-kin children. They invest in each other's children because they see them as kin-like. Also, religious communities tend to be homogamous, that is, they marry each other, and so parents of children tend to see other children in the community as plausible candidate future relatives, so to speak. I mean, we say it as a joke. Like I have three little daughters, and I'm like all my friends with sons. I'm like, hey, maybe they'll get married. Like it's a joke, but also it's like, no, I mean, they really could. Like it's not implausible. Um, so that's one factor in religious communities, and that in theory can be replicated in secular communities, right? They could invest in each other's kids in these ways. In practice, it wouldn't really work, right? Because like the reason that religious people, particularly Abrahamic people who come from religions that tend to have particular kinds of beliefs about the afterlife, um, the reason that we invest in our kids in this way is because we actually think that there's like this kinship of spirit, kinship of faith that makes a real stake in those kids. I don't do it because I'm a nice guy, is what I'm saying, right? There's actually I don't want to call it selfish motivation, but there's an instrumental utility to investing in other people's kids. Um, so that would it could be replicated, but it's hard. Now, that's not the only reason religious people have higher fertility, though. The other one is marriage markets, right? Most people value homogamy across a range of traits. Particularly, people really disprefer marrying folks with different sexual and family norms and preferences as they have, right? So, like, if you want an exclusive marriage and somebody else likes to have sex with people they're not married to, even when they're married, you don't want to marry each other. It'll be very unhappy. Likewise, if you do want kids and they don't, that's the type of thing people tend to talk about before getting married. So, you know, religious communities solve a matching problem, right? They organize people around sexual and family values. I mean, this is one of the central elements of any religious faith is values about sex and family. And so, because religions efficiently sort people on sex and family values, they more efficiently match people into mating. So religious people get married younger, and their younger marriages do not have elevated divorce risk. Whereas for secular people, divorce risk declines with age at marriage. For religious people, it does not. The younger marriages, assuming we're not talking about child marriages, okay, we're talking about like adults, but these relatively youthful adult marriages are just as stable as somewhat older ones for religious people. And then finally, the other reason religious people have more kids is because they want more kids. Uh, so like there is like doctrinal, ideological, spiritual beliefs motivate different ideal family sizes. So you know, alloparenting could be replicated. Efficient marriage matching much harder to replicate, because secular people are in some sense defined by like not feeling bound to a specific creedal type of like sexual and religious norm. Um, so that efficient matching system is very hard to replicate. And then third, um, religion supplies motivations to alter your perceived hedonic benefit of being a parent and having kids. So, like, what's the secular narrative that is going to match that? Maybe there is one, but it doesn't yet seem to exist in the world in a compelling way.